The sunflower was the most valuable divine multi-harvest plant added in the B-movie update, with a base price of $160,000, which made it the highest base value plant in the game at the time. And even today, it only loses to a few other plants in base value, like Parasol and Bone Blossom. You only had a 0.5% chance of getting it through the flower seed packs. Its base weight is 16.5 kilograms. It has a huge chance of only 0.17%, and even though it's multi-harvest, it only gives you one sunflower per harvest. But what really made the sunflower carve its name into the Hall of the Best Plants was Dawnbound, the admin abuse mutation that happened at the start of the next update, the Sun God. It was the event where the Sun God Jandel stood aura farming in a T-pose, and if 4 players held the sunflower together, they would get this lightning, and all 4 of them would have the Dawnbound mutation applied to their sunflower, which came as the biggest multiplier in the game at the time, 150x. Dawnbound used to be exclusive to the sunflower, or at least it was until pet mutations were added, because now pets with the Ascended mutation can also apply the Dawnbound mutation, and now they can apply it to any plant, not just the sunflower like before. FOSSILIGHT. This was the rarest divine plant to obtain through the Ancient Seed Pack, which came with the dinos in the prehistoric update, alongside Bone Blossom, of course. It had 0.5% chance of being obtained through the Ancient Seed Packs. Being a ridiculously good-looking plant, it's multi-harvest with a base weight of 4 kilograms per fruit, and its base value is 80,000 shekels. Traveler's Fruit. This is another divine plant that surprised a lot of people when it dropped, and it was part of the summer update. You could buy its seed from the event shop itself, which used summer coins as currency, the same currency we also earned during the event. It cost 32 summer coins, by the way. Its base weight is much higher than the previous plant, 15 kilograms, and its base value is a bit lower, 70,000 shekels. But the upside is that it's multi-harvest and can give you up to 5 fruits per harvest. And yes, this plant is real and it originates from the island of Madagascar. Sugar apple. This is the only fruit in Grow a Garden that can get the ripe variant, where it turns this color here instead of the classic green one. Being a prismatic plant also added during the Busy Berry event, same as the sunflower, this one can be bought in the seed shop for a pretty salty price of 25 million shekels. And for that to happen, you first need to be lucky enough for it to show up in stock, and that's the hard part, since its chance of appearing in stock is only 0.34%. Its base weight is 9 kilograms and its base value is 50,000. Its upside is that it's a multi-harvest plant that generates a bunch of fruits per harvest all at once, which makes it as profitable as other plants with higher base values, but that yield fewer fruits per harvest. To put it more simply, a higher base price doesn't necessarily make a fruit better than another one, since a plant with a lower base value might only be lower because it has a smaller base weight, but it could still be worth more. An easier example to understand how the fruit's base weight is just as important as its base price. Traveler's Fruit has a base value of 70,000, and Sugar Apple has a base value of 50,000. However, Traveler's Fruit has a base weight of 15 kilograms, while Sugar Apple only has 9 kilograms. To get the exact price per kilo, you divide the base value of the plant, in Traveler's case 70,000, by its base weight, which is 15 kilograms, and you'll get 4.6 thousand shekels per kilo of Traveler's Fruit. And if you do the same for Sugar Apple, you'll get 5.5k shekels per kilo. So if Sugar Apple had the same 15 kilograms as Traveler's Fruit, it would actually be worth more, around 82.5k shekels. I know it's a very surface-level explanation, since a lot more can influence value, but a lot of people still only look at the base price of the plant, thinking that's all that matters, when it's not. Another thing that directly affects this is the number of fruits per harvest. Sometimes a plant that has a lower value than another can still end up being worth the same, or even more, simply because it produces more fruits per harvest. When you put that on the scale, it ends up compensating for the lower value by generating more fruits at once. That's why a lot of people still say Candy Blossom is better than Bone Blossom, literally disagreeing with the game's own creator. But I'll talk about those two titans later in this video and also explain why the community argues so much over which one is better. So stay until the end, because the next plant is Venus Flytrap. This was the first plant ever added to the game that moves, and actually it's still one of the only ones, and still holds the title of the most pay-to-win plant in the game to this day. To start, it's a divine multi-harvest plant that only produces 1 fruit per harvest, with a base weight of 10 kilograms and a base value of 85,000, and it was added during the Angry Plant event, the one where the main NPC of the event is the Venus fly itself. What makes this the most pay-to-win plant in the game was the extreme and almost impossible difficulty just to have the slightest chance of obtaining it. You could only get it through the basic seed pack or the premium seed pack, and to even get that, you had to feed this fat plant 50 times using various plants with specific weights and also specific mutations. For a while, even a shocked grape was one of the required 50 plants. All that just to get 50 basic seed packs and one single premium seed pack, which gave you a very generous 1% chance of getting a Venus flytrap. Yep, 1%, but hey, at least you had those 50 basic seed packs to try for a Venus too, right? Sure, with a pitiful 0.01% chance, it was just straight up diabolical dragon pepper. This one is the godfather of the dragon fruit and pepper family. It's a divine multi-harvest plant that yields 4 to 6 fruits per harvest, and was added in the crafter's update. Its base weight is 6 kilograms, and its base value for that weight is 80k, which is insanely good, and also insanely hard to get. Both its name and design are literally a fusion of dragon fruit and the regular pepper, and the result of combining those two plants gave us this monster of a beauty with a monstrous value. Being the rarest plant from the event and from the crafter's seed packs, you only have a 0.5% chance to get this gem, although in the rainbow sack, that chance increases to 7%. Moon Blossom. The Lunar Glow event was one of the community's favorites, and this beauty right here was one of the main reasons why. As usual, if a plant has blossom in its name, you already know it's going to be OP, and Moon Blossom was no exception. Being a multi-harvest plant with several harvests at once, divine tier, and with 2 color variants on the tree, it has a base weight of just 3 kilos, and a base value for that weight of 66k, making its price per kilo a juicy 22k shekels. You have a 0.5% chance of getting Moon Blossom from the nighttime pack, the night seed pack, and in the premium pack, that chance goes up to 2.5%. Besides the plant itself being beautiful and decorative, even the flower it produces is gorgeous. People really love Moon Blossom. Giant Pinecone. Unlike the last one, this one isn't that aesthetically pleasing, neither in looks nor when you open the seed shop and are faced with that demonic image of the seed's price, 55 million Jandolars. It's also extremely rare to show up in the shop. The wiki states a miserable 0.29% chance of it being in stock. But is it worth it? Well, it's a prismatic multi-harvest plant, producing several pine cones per harvest, with a base weight of 5 kilograms and a base value of 72,000 shekels. What's crazy is that its base value actually used to be 100,000, but it got nerfed down to 72,000, a 27% reduction. But even with the nerf, it's still a very valuable plant. Just not as valuable as your subscription is to me, so if you're enjoying this video, help this poor guy hit 30,000 subs. Seriously, subscribe, love you guys. Elephant ears. Can we just take a second to appreciate how beautiful this plant is? And yes, it exists in real life, but real life just doesn't have the same aura as Jandel's version. This is a prismatic multi-harvest plant that can produce up to 6 Dumbo ears per harvest. It was added in the summer harvest update. You can get it through the summer packs, with just a 0.5% chance in both the summer seed pack and the exotic summer seed pack. But if you're lucky enough to hit a jackpot in the rainbow sack, the chance of getting elephant ears goes up to 7%. It has a pretty high base weight, but it has elephant in the name. What did you expect? At least its base value matches that heavy weight, 77k per ear, which multiplied by 6 ears per harvest can give you a total bundle of up to 462k. Pretty good, right? Some plants have really high base values like honeysuckle, parasol flower, suncoil, firework flower, etc. But many of them only give 1 single fruit per harvest, and some literally only give a single harvest because they're single harvest plants. And like I said, plants with lower base values than those mentioned can end up with higher final returns when you balance it out, since they give you multiple fruits per harvest. Each plant also has different percentages in something called huge chance, which means the higher the huge chance on a specific plant, the more likely it is to produce giant fruits or flowers. However, many players say that this huge chance is actually just the chance for the plant itself to grow giant, not the fruit. And to me, that doesn't really make sense, because if huge chance only refers to the plant, you could just keep spamming the reclaimer, that tool that lets you recover a plant's seed, and keep replanting the same seed until it finally grows giant. Which, I mean, would be technically possible, but kind of broken though. But no one really cares about that chance, because everyone just uses the sprinkler method anyway, and that already makes the plant and its fruits grow huge, so it's kinda whatever. But in theory, it makes more sense for huge chance to be about the fruits produced by that plant, not the plant itself, right? Comment below if you think huge chance refers to the plant or the fruits, or both. Elder strawberry. Speaking of expensive plants that can be acquired in the seed shop, here we have the Chad 4K, ray tracing version of the OG strawberry from Grow a Garden, which apparently was made with only 2.5 pixels of resolution. First of all, it's a prismatic plant that was added in the second part of the Zen update, the Corrupted update. It's a multi-harvest plant that gives 1 strawberry per leaf. It has a 0.24% chance of being in stock at the seed shop for a sweet little price of 70 million jandalers, which is higher than the 50 million of the giant pinecone, which is already considered expensive. With a base weight of 6 kilograms, each of these strawberries has a base value of 90,000 shekels, which is making players question the balancing of some plants, since many have raised concerns about the fact that this strawberry is so easily acquired when compared to the previously mentioned elephant ear, for example, because the strawberry can match it, even though it's way easier to obtain. Maple apple. This is the rarest plant in the Zen seed packs, the ones obviously added in the Zen update. I think it's super good looking. The plant, the apple itself, even the seed is nice. Honestly, this orangey color looks good on every plant in the game. In both the regular and exotic Zen seed packs, the odds are the same, just 0.5% and 7% in the rainbow sack. It's a divine multi-harvest plant that can produce up to 4 apples per harvest. But there are players with maple apples that produce many, and I mean many apples per harvest, many. With a very low base weight, just 3 kilograms. Its base value per apple is 77,000 shekels, which puts it on the shelf with the Tier S plants. And those are what you're gonna see now, starting with Tranquil Bloom. Also arriving in the Corrupted Zen update alongside the Elder Strawberry. This gorgeous flower grows on this even more beautiful tree that also has 2 color variations, just like the Moon Blossom, and is also multi-harvest, generating up to 4 flowers per harvest. The way to acquire this one is not through seed packs or the shop, but through Kitsune chests, with only a 1% chance of getting the Tranquil Bloom. Being a prismatic flower as well, each Tranquil Bloom has a base weight of 4 kilograms, and a base value of an impressive 93,000 shekels. Jandel has really been dropping some bangers in these latest updates. Candy Blossom. This one is by far the biggest cause of arguments in the Grow a Garden community to this day. It's still the most famous plant in the game, even months after its release. To this day, whenever a new plant is added, the first thing people ask still is it better than Candy Blossom or not? And every time a new plant is considered super valuable and ends up getting nerfed for whatever reason, at least half the community always says that's because of the Candy Blossom glazers pressuring Jandel to nerf it since they can't accept another plant being better. But what exactly makes this plant so iconic? Is it really deserving of this massive worship to the point where most players agree it still is and always will be the best plant in Grow a Garden? Well, first of all, as everyone probably already knows, it was added during the Easter event, way back in April. It could be bought from the event shop for 10 million shekels and had a relatively high stock chance compared to other higher tier plants, 4%. The plant is instantly recognizable and unique, still one of the prettiest and most visually distinct to this day. And its fruit is even better, that beautiful, colorful cotton candy. It's a divine multi-harvest plant. Yep, it's not even a prismatic tier plant, which is crazy. And it produces up to 12 fruits per harvest, with a super low base weight of just 3 kilograms, and each of those fruits has a base value of a whopping 100,000 shekels. And remember that huge chance percentage I mentioned earlier? So, while every other plant on this list dreams of hitting at least 1% huge chance, Candy Blossom has 2.5%. And that's really a huge percentage, which is also tied with the number 1 on this list, which is Bone Blossom. This one was literally confirmed by Jandel himself to be better than Candy Blossom. And obviously, it had to have Blossom in the name, because if it has Blossom, it's going to be OP. Another wild thing Jandel said, that I haven't seen anyone talking about, and I'm sure most people didn't catch, is when he tweeted, "Guys, go subscribe to my cousin Howblox's channel so he can hit 30,000 and afford to pay his editor and keep doing those daily giveaways on his Discord. Links in the description." I swear he really said that. Trust me, bro. Anyway, Bone Blossom now also shares the same 2.5% huge chance, buffed up from its original 0.5%. It was added in the prehistoric update, where you could redeem its seed after completing a questline with one of the event NPCs. Its plant has that same orangey color as maple apple, and the fruit is basically a peach, except with bones sticking out of it. As a multi-harvest plant, Bone Blossom was the first ever transcended tier plant added to the game, opening a completely new category with its arrival. Its base weight is also 3 kilograms, same as Candy Blossom, but it only got that weight after being buffed down from a heavier original weight, which used to be way heavier than the Candy Blossom. And this weight reduction drastically increased Bone Blossom's price per kilogram, and its base value is a ridiculous 200,000 per fruit, which is insane for a plant that produces multiple fruits per harvest. But again, that came after a buff. It originally had a base value of 175,000. Oh, and another thing that affects plant value that I forgot to mention earlier. Plants also have total limits. They can be capped. So basically, players disagreed with Jandel himself, claiming Candy Blossom was still better than Bone Blossom because it had a higher huge chance, produced 8 more fruits per harvest, and was only 75,000 shekels cheaper. But since it produced more fruits and was much lighter, its price per kilogram was higher than Bone Blossom's, making it worth more overall. Plus, it would look kinda bad for the first transcended plant ever to lose to a divine one, right? And that's why Bone Blossom got hit with a series of strong buffs, increasing its huge chance to 2.5% as well, raising its base value from 175,000 to 200,000, and dropping its base weight from 7 kilograms to just 3 kilograms, giving it the same weight as Candy Blossom and massively boosting its value per kilogram. And what about you? Which one do you think is better? Comment down below. Subscribe if you liked the video and help me hit 30,000 subs. Your favorite creator, Howblocks.